Okay, come on. Okay, so hopefully the stream's up and running now, and I am joined today. It's fantastic to have both Rob Fink and James Kindred from Big Drop. Okay, so hopefully the stream's up and running now. Big Drop. They're joining me today, and they're going to tell us a little bit about the history of the brewery, how they started out. And they're going to go through their range of beers, which we can see in the background there, which looks absolutely fantastic. So let's start off. Can you just, like, I know we've probably all heard the name. A lot of people will have drunk some of your beers, but can you just tell us a little bit about the sort of backstory of Big Drop? When did it all start? How did you get to where you are today?
Shall I do the backstory bit, James?
Yeah, definitely.
So for my sins, I am still technically a lawyer, and back in 2010 I had started a law firm in the City of London with another guy, which now does very well, but the broad split of work between me and him was that he would do all the complicated legal stuff and I would go out and get the clients. And back in 2010, and even more so before then, when I was working my way up, that largely involved standing in the pub, drinking lots of beer over prolonged periods of time. And in fact, I would get into the office about, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, work until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then hit the pubs. And if I came back before 5 o'clock, my then business partner would be saying, what's wrong? Why are you back? Why aren't you out in the pubs? And then I had my first kid in 2014, who could well burst through that door at any moment in a North Korean expert kind of way. But and you suddenly realise, I guess, like a lot of people, that you can't stand in a pub all afternoon. Most days of the week. This isn't just every other Friday. This is most days of the week, and then go home and change nappies and do baths and put babies to bed, because the mother of said child will not let you do that if you've had 8.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, and that seems, from people that I've spoken to, that seems to be one of the major reasons, if not having children, but sort of growing up, like getting a bit older, not being able to handle as many beers as they used to, and I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And so this is the sort of slightly shortened version, but fundamentally, I stopped drinking alcohol for about 6 months, I'd say. But the key, the reason people say to me, well, how come you sort of spotted this opportunity, or why did you do what you did? And it was simply because I still had to go to the pub. I think a lot, but if you just quit, if you just go, do you know what, I need to take a break from it, or I'm cutting down, or whatever it is, you probably go to the pub less, or you don't go to the pub at all. But I still had to go to the pub because that was my job. My job was to go to the pub and hang out with people and try and get them to give me work as a lawyer. So I ended up standing in pubs, drinking, let's name the brand, because we're all friends and I don't have anything against it, but drinking Beck's Blue, because that's what was in the pub. But I don't want to drink Beck's Blue, not even from a quality perspective, but because of a style perspective, because I don't really like lager.
Okay.
I like dark beers, generally speaking. We're going to try the brown. And then I'm stood there in these amazing pubs that we had because of the craft beer revolution, and you can have any style of beer from around the world at any ABV level you want. But if you want a non-alcoholic beer, after the bar person has stopped laughing at you, they give you the Beck's Blue. And I just thought, well, this is crazy. And obviously I've known James since we were at school together. We've played in bands together. We're not probably knocking on about 25 years that we've known each other. And he was at the same sort of stage in his life. He had young kids. Like you say, you get to a certain age and maybe it's Tuesday and you fancy a beer, but you've got young kids, or you can't hack it.
Yeah.
But you still want a beer, you just don't want the consequences. So we mulled it over and threw it around, mostly in the pub, ironically. And then we sort of came to the conclusion that this was a good idea. But
when was that? What sort of year was that? These plans coming together, these conversations.
It was probably about, the first beer came out November 16.
Okay.
So we were probably talking about it early 16.
Wow. Okay.
But the problem was, of course, that neither of us knew how to brew beer, which
it's a bit of a setback when you want to make beer.
There's the slight dent in our plan was that we didn't know the right end of a mash from the wrong end.
So what's the plan after that then? You got the idea and then
found a brewer.
We talked to a few brewers, and I think Rob covered this when we did our crowdfunding video. And one of the things, we went out and talked to some brewers, and some brewers just said, I'm not even going to do this for you because I don't want to waste your time. Okay. It's a terrible idea.
Right.
And then we found Johnny, who still is one of the greatest experimental brewers around, and he took the challenge on. And it was, when we said to him we want to make a 0.5 AF beer, the first thing he came back to us and said is, no, you want to make a great beer that just so happens to be 0.5.
Nice.
That put us on the right track, was that you don't just make a 0.5 beer, because that's not the thing you want to do. You want to make a great beer, and it just so happens to be 0.5%. And that set us on a good trajectory. And the stout was the first one that came out, and that was, we were off from there, really.
Oh yeah. Well, I hadn't realised that until this week that was your first beer. That's quite a bold choice to go with a.
Yeah, I mean that came from, a lot of the things, a lot of ideas tend to come from necessity and that sort of thing. And Rob, as Rob says, he's a dark beer drinker, and Rob was looking for that thing that he was after. And Johnny thought it was a great idea. No one else was doing it, and the question was why is no one doing it? Is it possible to do? And we managed to do it. And the recipe of the stout is still pretty much the same as it is today.
Amazing.
And if you're a dark beer drinker, the stout's gonna, in most cases, absolutely suit you down to the ground.
Absolutely. Well, personally, for me, that was the thing that when I kind of started thinking I'm going to cut back a bit or stop completely, was having your stout and thinking, actually, this is a perfect replacement. Like, I don't need to have the higher strength ones if I can have this. And I know it's the same for a lot of people. Before we go back to, because I want to ask you where you found this maverick, this Johnny, because he's got some tricks up his sleeve. So, but should we open the beer? Because I know there's going to be people at home.
So it's the brown, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the brown.
Which will be, it's one of the last ones that's going to move over to our new packaging. So you'll have, if you've got one at home at the moment, you'll have it in the outgoing design. The new design's going to look more like our new cans.
Okay.
That's out in a couple of weeks, and that'll be on our Big Drop store pretty soon. Let's give it a whirl.
Yeah. This was I can't remember when the brown came out, but it really was. We did the stout, and everyone who tried the stout really, and I do genuinely think it is a fantastic beer, but people really wanted a pale ale. But I'd always wanted, my sort of vision for Big Drop is that it mirrors what other craft breweries are doing. So the goal was never just to do the stout or the pale ale or even just 3 beers. The goal, and we're still working on it after nearly 4 years, is to have a full portfolio of different styles of beer. And this is the beer that is the style of beer that I think made me grow up as a beer drinker, because when I was at university, I went to university drinking lager, and I would go to the pub over the road, and a pint of, dare I say it, I can't believe I used it, but a pint of Foster's was whatever it was, £4 or something. Yeah. But that pub, as I now know, because I know more now, had obviously got a deal with some local brewery that provided them with a white label cask ale, and you could buy a pint of this cask ale for under £2.
Yeah.
So as a student, what do?
Yeah.
I'm not paying £4 for Foster's when I can drink a pint of that for £1.90. So this is like the beer that, and then of course you learn more about beer, you try different cask ales, and then you go into kegged beers, and it just opens up that whole world. So this is the beer that I like to think sort of turned me into a more seasoned beer drinker. Yeah.
I think, that's, well, do you want to talk, do you want to tell, I actually don't have it here.
No, I know. Yes, we have logistical issues. So I'm going to
some people on the chat saying they got some people on the chat saying they got the lager as well. So I think we'll cover this, and we'll talk about the lager as well. Yeah, it covers both ends of the spectrum as well, and then we can talk about some of the other things that we're up to.
Yeah.
So apologies if you haven't got the brown ale, but it is we with the rebrand, it's there's lots of different branding things going on. Brown ale to me never sounds very sexy, but it's fundamentally it's a great British style of beer.
What's it going to be called in the new?
New one's going to be called the Woodcutter.
Okay, the Woodcutter. Nice.
Yeah. And then the hazelnut porter, which you may have seen, is going to be called Off Piste.
Oh, nice.
Which is really good. And I think that's everything. The golden ale will be the last one that we release, that we move over to the new packs. That'll be coming out in a 330ml bottle. We originally did it at 500, just as a tester. But we're going to do it in the smaller bottles again, and that's going to be called BST, British Summertime.
Okay.
And then that'll be the main range moved over, and then we've got some interesting stuff coming out through summer editions, and we'll do a winter series as well, which will be darker beers. Nice.
Yeah, lots going on. We've opened up so many cans of worms just in the last minute. I've got so much to ask you about. Can you tell us a little bit about the collaboration that you did, the series that you did? When was that now? Was that last year?
Last September.
Yeah.
Because people might not necessarily know about that, and that was sort of, well, for me that was pretty revolutionary. I hadn't seen anything like that in the non-alcoholic.
Again, it was. I was going to say it was me. It was my idea. But again, it goes back to this point that I want. Big Drop is a craft brewery first and foremost. That's it. The fact that our beers happen to be alcohol free is very much secondary to that. Sure. And one of the, in as much as there are traditions in a sector that's not particularly old, but one of the traditions in craft brewing is that you do collaborations with other breweries. You meet friends at festivals and trade shows, and you think, wouldn't it be great if we made that crazy beer that probably a supermarket isn't going to take, that isn't going to sell a shed load, but actually between us we probably got enough fans, consumers and drinkers that we can justify making it. And I was like, no, I want to do that as well. And it is an excuse, like, you say like we're opening a can of worms, and that's right, but it's an excuse to go and try some weird and wonderful things with other brilliant breweries.
So who did you work with?
So we had worked with Harbour down in the southwest. We worked with Salt. We worked with Fine. And we did one with 4Pure as well. And
the 4Pure, James has got that. Yeah, I don't think I've. No, I thought I did.
These are
that beer
ultra rare.
We've sold out now, but that is actually my favourite Big Drop beer of all time ever.
Wow!
And we're never making it again.
Yeah, we're never making it again. My cupboard is full. I think I've got most of it.
That's where all that stock went.
That's where it went. Yeah.
I think what you say, Rob, about being a craft brewery first, doing things like collaborations. That's what you see in that world, and I think it was so exciting. Like, it was so exciting for the people, the non-drink, the people that don't drink, but also you could see the passion, the energy for it, way beyond the alcohol-free world. Like, it was
it's just, it's one of the reasons we did it is to try and highlight that, to get rid of the stigma that AF beers are a secondary or a lesser product in quality or flavor or care or attention or anything positive that people associate, or traditionally have associated with a alcohol-free derivative, heavily post-produced liquid. We want to try and knock that on the head completely, and we do that with our core range, and our pales and our crafts and that sort of thing win beer awards, and it's fantastic. But at the same time, we still want to challenge ourselves, and if we can go out and make a raspberry goza and it works and people who like gozas enjoy it, and that's the thing, we make some beers that you might not like, that's only because you don't like that style in the first place.
And
the hilarious thing we used to have was people would come to beer festivals and try our stout and go, oh, I don't like that. And you go, do you usually drink stout? No, I hate stout. At what point did you think that taking the alcohol, that's the whole thing, is that they think it's going to be a different product. And perception of the category is changing, and we like to think that we're helping to change that. But at the same time, we want to keep doing stuff that make sure that we keep challenging ourselves, we highlight the category, and we work with other brewers and find kind of interesting things to do.
Brilliant. Well, I think you say about sort of challenging yourself and finding new things to do. Can you tell us, you this week you launched 2 new beers, didn't you?
We did.
Can you show us what they are? Because they're up on your website now, aren't they?
So you can buy these from shop.bigdropbrew.com, and there's also, I think, Robin, if you want to share it on the chat, I don't know if you can.
I think it's
there's a discount code that anyone watching.
Virtual beer,
Yeah, if you use the code virtual beer, all capitals, in the UK store, you'll get 10% off any products up until midnight on Sunday, and that includes these 2, which we launched last week. They are absolutely flying.
What are they? Tell us what styles we've got.
So we've got a double dry hopped IPA, which is mega fruity, and that's
I've seen that in the UK before, double dry hopped.
I mean, that's and again, I think someone said, there was a write up on it today, and someone said that it's something that you tend to see in the craft sector. It would usually be 6 to 8%. And it would be super fruity and super mangoey and very hoppy. And he quite rightly said the only thing that's missing is the alcohol, but the flavor is absolutely there. It still really hits you. It's really good. I mean, my favorite Big Drop is the Citra IPA. So the poolside sits in my area of beer enjoyment perfectly. And then the Kodama on the other side, which is also absolutely fantastic, uses Japanese hops, Sorachi Ace hops, and that I've not quite nailed down to describe what the flavor is of it. I don't know if you have, Rob.
No, I just read off the back.
I was trying to avoid being quite there.
Yeah. It's we've got honey undertones of German specialty malts, and one of the things that we do, particularly with our beer, is you might find with alcoholic beer that the brewers are using just 1 or 2 types of grains, like readily available, not mass produced is the wrong word, but easily available grains that you can use in beers. Whereas what we're doing is using many different types of grains across all of our beers. So when we send our recipes across to the breweries that we use to produce it, they kind of go, oh, really? That looks really very complicated, because they're not used to seeing so many grains.
Right.
So we are using specialty malts that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see in a standard beer. You've got citrus and orange notes, gooseberry, white wine undertones. But it's an India pale lager, an IPL. So it's quite an unusual style. But lagers are really light beers are really, really difficult to make as alcohol-free versions, because alcohol does two things. One, alcohol itself is flavorless. It doesn't have a flavor. Alcohol is like salt. It's a flavor enhancer. So if you have alcohol in something, it brings everything to life.
Yeah.
And it also gives drinks mouthfeel. When you have that glass of wine or whiskey and you swirl the glass and you see the legs, the viscosity, that's alcohol. That's what it's there for. So if you don't have that in your drinks, then by definition, you're losing a couple of things. So making a drink such as a lager, which by definition is very clean, very crisp, very light, there's not a lot to a lager. What makes lager is the alcohol, really. It's really, really difficult to compensate for the lack of alcohol in an alcohol-free lager. That's the problem that we had when we started, was everyone was like, well, alcohol-free beer doesn't taste it very much. And we were like, no, alcohol-free lager doesn't taste it very much, but try this pale ale, try this stout, try this brown ale. And then people are going, oh, no, it tastes like stout, doesn't it? It's like, yes, no, because it is stout. Because it's stout. But what the IPL as a style allows you to do is you have the quite light, crisp base of a lager, but then there's more hops in there than you would expect to find with a lager. A lager is not very highly hopped at all. There are hops in it, obviously. So these hops, the Sriracha and the Nelson Sauvin in here, just give you that extra flavor and aroma that you're missing with a standard lager or pilsner, but without losing the clean, crisp base. So so this is the summer special IPL. We did one of the collaborations that we did was an IPL last year, and most people's favorite was that or the black IPA with Forkia, which was mine. And again, I think Johnny has totally nailed this. I appreciate this. It shouldn't just be an advertorial for Big Drop, but this would certainly rank as one of my personal favorites. And as I said, I don't even really drink light beer, so
Nice. You mentioned Johnny again, and I did say I was going to ask a bit about him. So
he's not that important.
who is he? Who is he? He seems to be doing wonders. How does your sort of setup work? You say about working with the breweries. How does producing a beer for Big Drop work?
So what generally happens, we came across Johnny when the big hurdle, one of the things that stopped us starting Big Drop any quicker was the fact that we didn't have the money to build a brewery, and any brewery that was able to contract brew your beer, i.e. another brewery brews our beer, which is what we do all around the world, they wanted such volumes that we weren't able to provide, because we were like, well, I can't brew 10,000 litres of beer. But eventually we found a little brewery in Bermondsey called U-Brew, and I went to see them. I still didn't have a brewer. Neither James nor I still knew how to brew beer. So I said to them, this is what I want to do, but do you know anybody who could help me? And it was literally that moment where, they point in the corner and Johnny just goes, I can help. And then as James said, I go up and have a chat with him and say, this is what I want to do. And he says, yeah, this looks interesting. And so originally it started that he just designed some recipes for us, and then he came on board full time to work with us a couple of years ago. So he has a little, imagine either like a giant magic mushroom in a forest with chimneys and steam coming out of it, or some kind of steampunk tiny little unit in near where he lives in Bath, and he's in there tinkering and playing around, and every now and again he emerges and just sort of says, this one, I've got this one, and then we'll try it.
We get a box of unlabeled liquid arrive, just numbered or lettered A, B, and C, and then Johnny WhatsApps us and says feedback,
Yeah.
and then we have a potential kind of recipe development. So the last two that Johnny did that he sent us was the two summer series, and then we're going to do a winter series as well, which Johnny's probably concocting and throwing mad shapes around his pilot kit at the moment.
Yeah.
And we'll see what he comes up with.
Nice. Somebody on the chat asked about the collaboration. Is there any plans to do a second one?
I saw that question.
Yeah. Or is that keeping it under your hat for now?
That's TBD. Watch this space.
Okay.
It's not no.
Okay.
It's not no. Yeah. If we can pull it off, it's going to be absolutely outstanding. Like genuinely proper party poppers, champagne, alcohol-free champagne and alcoholic champagne.
It's not no. That's all we're saying there, Rob.
That's all we're saying. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Okay, yeah. Well, you've got plenty to keep us going anyway.
Yeah, there's lots on offer.
Yeah.
And if people who are viewing have, if this is your first introduction to Big Drop, and you enjoyed what you tried this evening, head over to if you're in the UK, then head over to our UK store and use that code and try it. There's a few mixed cases we do on there. If you like the lighter beers, I definitely recommend trying the poolside or the Kadama, and you've got a discount code, so go wild.
No excuse. Oh, well, thanks a lot, guys. That was fantastic, and it's really interesting to see it from your side, and we love the beer, so it's great to hear how they're produced and a bit about the story. So thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks for having us on. It's glad to be we're glad to be the first people to kind of kick this weekend off.
Oh yeah.
I genuinely, I think this is really exciting. I do when I heard about it, because it's there is a whole movement's too strong a word, but just the more the merrier, and the more people that are making great drinks like this, the better. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and good luck with the launch of the new beers and everything that's going in the future. So cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend, everyone.
Yeah, have a good one.